Hello. Welcome to another episode of Sheffield Eagles Memories, 1984 to the present day. This one is very simple. It's going to be called The Day the World Champions Came to Sheffield. A few weeks ago, three members of this team that played on that day got their heritage certificates at the Sheffield Eagles games. Nick Grimolby, Warren Smiles, and Nick Halafihi. Very simply, on October 8th, 1989, a few days, I think it was October 8th, something like that. A few days after Widnes had beaten Canberra Raiders at Old Trafford in the World Club Challenge. And they came a few days later to Bramall Lane, the home of Sheffield United. And they decided that, and they was going to play Sheffield Eagles. Now, Eagles had only been in the first division literally about 5 weeks. We'd played St Helens, we'd played Barrow, we'd played Wakefield Trinity, and we'd played Featherstone Rovers. So this was the fifth game in the first division that we'd had in that time. So I was expecting a big day. There was a massive crowd. The Scrum Down cameras was there from Yorkshire Television. If anybody remembers, Scrum Down used to be on every Sunday night throughout the Rugby League season and would show a game from that weekend. And they decided to put Sheffield Eagles against Widnes from the Division 1. And all the hype was up and everything. And what made this special for Eagles fans was the fact that Jonathan Davis had signed 6-7 months before. And it was going to be his first game he ever played at standoff, which was his normal position in rugby union. And he'd never played it in rugby league until he played against Sheffield Eagles. Now, the team that Widnes had was just a who's who of rugby league. They were the league champions. You had Alan Tate, Brian McKebby, Andy Courier, Davon Wright, Martin Afire, to Jonathan Davis, David Hume, Kurt Sorensen, Phil McKenzie, Joe Grimmer, Emerson Colosso, Richie Ayres, Paul Hume. It was a who's of rugby league. It was a phenomenal team that played against Sheffield Eagles that day. And then the Eagles turned up. And nobody gave Eagles. Nobody knew what was going to happen that day. Very simply, the team that day that took the field, number one, was our 17-year-old fullback by the name of David Maiko. Number two was the great winger himself, Dave Nelson. God bless you, Dave. Number three was Andy Dickinson. Number four was Captain Dowell Powell. Number five was Mark Gamson on a wing. Number six was our Australian Jeff Hardy. Number seven was Mark Aston. Number 8 was Paul Broadbent. Number 9 was Mick Cook. Number 10 was Gary Van Bellen. Number 12 was Bruce Maguire. Number 11 was Sonny Nicol. Number 12, Bruce Maguire. Number 13 was Warren Smiles. And 14 was Nick Alafihi. And 15 was Nick Grimolby. Now, this was a game where a certain person called Jeff Hardy, try scorers, let me get this right, was Jeff Hardy got 2, Bruce Maguire, Nick Grimolby, so that's 4. Mark Aston got 4 kicks and things like that. And, it was a wonderful day. It was absolutely outstanding day. I forgot one of the try scorers. I know I have. Give me 1 second. I will find out the try scorers for you. Sheffield Eagles. Jeff Hardy, Nick Grimolby, Bruce Maguire, Sonny Nicol. Yeah, that was it. And Jeff Hardy, 5 tries. Mark Aston got 5 kicks and a fatal goal. And the other person that got it for Widnes that day was Phil McKenzie, got the try, and Jonathan Davis with the goal. Now, I just said that Widnes team off the top of my head. This was actually the team I've got it here, and it was right. Alan Tate 1, Brian McKebby 2, Andy Courier 3, Davon Wright 4, Martin Afire 5, Jonathan Davis 6, David Hume 7, Joe Grimmer played 8, Phil McKenzie played 9, Derek Pike was 10, Kurt Sorensen was 11, Paul Hume was 12, Richie Ayres was 13, and on the bench was Barry Dowd and another Welsh Rugby Union convert in Paul Moriarty. And that was the case of that day. And apparently the capacity that day, the crowd that day was 8,636 at Sheffield Eagles. So a big, massive turnout. I was there as a program seller. I was selling all the programs that day outside of Bramall Lane. But all I can remember of the day was that Sheffield Eagles came. We took the game to them from that start. I mean, to look it on the cameras, to look everything about it, it was just phenomenal. From 1 to 15, they knew their place. From every single person. Dave Michael was awesome. I mean, this was his lad's only 5th ever game in professional game. He played at the Wigan Sevens, but in the games on the First Division, David Michael was just finding his feet, and boy, did he find his feet very, very quickly. Amazing lad, amazing fella, amazing player. He ended up being for Sheffield Eagles anyway. But on that day, it was just, we tore them apart. It wasn't a case of just like, hey, hold on a minute, what's going on here? Just every single person in rugby league went, oh, hold on a minute, Sheffield Eagles are here to stay. This team means business. And at that time, we'd made some good signings. We'd made Bruce Maguire, Jeff Hardy, and Warren Smiles was out of Australian because he was only allowed 3 overseas players. But we had a hungry young lad called Sonny Nicol. We had Paul Broadbent, who was he was still only in his early 20s. Gary Van Bellen was taking on the thing. Mick Cook was a tackling machine anyway. Mark Aston was coming into his own. He was in the middle of his run of 60-odd games without missing the games. He was scoring in every game he was playing in. You had Davil at 4, who was on his way to be transferred into a standoff, but he was still in the centre position. Jeff Hardy was just amazing at standoff in them days. He was just phenomenal. One of the favourite of the players of all time was Jeff. Dandy Dickinson was Mr. Dependable. The wingers, Gamma and Nelly, will always be Sheffield Eagles through and through. They just tore their boys to shreds. And Dave Michael at fullback. It was just 1 to 15. It was phenomenal. The crowd was amazing. They're just in the crowd. I remember the person in the tannoy system, I think there was about 10 minutes to go, and he kept going, time's running out for Widnes. And everyone's going, whoa, can't say that, boo. But he just went cuckoo, and he was going mental. He can't say that, what's he bloody playing at? And losing the plot. So he did that very well. But Mark Aston got the man of the match. He was very, very well deserved man of the match. And when you look on SmackDown, you see a young lad called Davil and Mark at the same time with a Bros haircut. Yeah, that's me. In my Sheffield Eagles jacket at that time, on my orange Adidas bag. I was 20 years old. Oh, time flies. Time flies too fast. But it was a wonderful day. The match itself, I mean, the Widnes fans were shell-shocked. They just couldn't believe it. I mean, this is literally 4 days after they'd played at Old Trafford and beaten Canberra Raiders with Mal Meninga, Laurie Daly and all their players for the World Championship. And then they come to Sheffield and it was just like, ooh. And it gave everybody in rugby league that big kick up the arse that said, hey, hold on a minute. Sheffield Eagles they look like they mean business here. And what you remember is, this season, we didn't have a home. We didn't have a home at all. It wasn't there. We was always playing away. We was having 4 games scheduled in Sheffield, and that was it. And this was the second game of 4. And the next game was against Wigan at Hillsborough. But we weren't going to be back to Bramall Lane to the last game of the season against Hull FC. Or Hull in them days. It wasn't even Hull FC, it was Hull. But all the way through it, I mean, Dave Michael, he was unfortunate. He got an accident happened to him with, he got a bang on his knee and he got stretchered off, and everybody thought it was something that was going to happen to him. But he turned out to be fine because he came into the pub after R&B's on Scotland Street was the greatest place of all time after that. Boy, what a night that was. And a lot of people had a lot of good times that one, and it was fantastic. A special shout out must go to every single. This episode is dedicated to the 15 lads that took the field that day and absolutely destroyed Sheffield and destroyed Widnes. It was like, wow. We got his arse kicked in the return match at Norton Park, as it was then. It was something like 50-odd 6 or something like that. We really was trounced by Widnes. They really went to town on us that day. But we scraped in that season and we finished above the relegation thanks to a draw against Salford. And that kept us up. But the Widnes day of us saying that, hey, hold on a minute. We've got something here. And then when we went to Castleford the following week and only lost by 2 points, that just really, 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 really hurt. The fact that we took Castleford to their place, and we took 1,000 fans to Castleford, and that was amazing. But I've got some more stories about that, and some other bits and bobs in that way. But I hope you've enjoyed this little episode of the Widnes game. As I said, the first half we absolutely destroyed them. At half time, it was like we've got them on the ropes here. Something was happening. When are they going to come back? And they never did. So it just went on and on and on. And then Sonny Nicol, Nick Grimolby, Bruce Maguire with his score and everything, and Jeff Hardy and everything. We just amazing. Mark Aston with his kicks that day was out unbelievable. But always remember it. And if you want to watch it, it's on YouTube. It is there on YouTube. If you type in Sheffield Eagles versus Widnes, October 8, 1989, you get to see the whole game from scrum down, and you get it on there. Well worth a watch. Anyway, take care of yourselves. Thanks very much for watching. Like, subscribe, and do whatever you need to do. And I will see you on the next episode of Sheffield Eagles Memories. Thanks for all your help. Guys, goodbye. Bye-bye.